question.
course, go ahead.
Was it you who was telling me about you? Was it you who did an information cleanse?
Yes, information fast.
Information fast. That's the
Yeah,
term. Okay, I was talking about that with Ben Hurwitz on this the other day.
yeah,
And
I'm
it's
way overdue to do another one.
okay. You find like everybody should do it like maybe every couple months.
Man, if you can do it, honestly, if you can just do it 1 week a month, would be the best. But we can't do that in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
age, unfortunately. I would just say grab a chance to do it any chance you get. Just if for nothing else, just for your sleep. It was the best sleep I ever. As soon as you hit the pillow, you fall asleep, sleep a full night, because that is not in your eyes and in your brain.
Yeah, it's so much. Like it's just so much. Like I described the times we're living in. It's like we're subject to a fire hose of information and
It's poison. I got more addicted to the phone
yeah,
because of COVID. Because remember those first few weeks, you were on
yeah,
the phone 23
refresh.
Yeah, and it's terrible. Now I'm even more dependent on it, and it's clearly like a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. It was some famous actor who he was on Maron's podcast and he said that the promise of technology was a lie, that it
Yeah.
was supposed to open up all this free time, but instead we're more
Well,
occupied.
that was
Yeah,
that was. I don't know. You ever read Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, the Unabomber?
I have
That was
not.
that was his whole. That's why he did those terrorist attacks. Was that people would read his manifesto, and the guy was like, I mean, he was crazy. He was a genius. But yeah, that was his whole thing. Was that he was warning about the dangers of technology. An example he used was like when they invented the car. I was like, oh, nice! I could drive my car and I get there faster. But then everybody gets a car, and now we have traffic. And now everybody has to have a. You know what I mean? It's like more technology you have, it defeats the purpose of it.
Yeah, that definitely also applies to social media. Like there was a time when I think social media was it wasn't as toxic of a tool.
Yeah, it was like a cherry on top. It was like a nice. It was like a virtual business card.
Yeah, it was fun, but it's just like now that more and more people are on it, and more people are just posting
You don't
spam,
exist.
yeah, and trash.
You
Like
know?
they need to do like some sort of quality control, otherwise it's just it just
That's just what it is. That's what we are. We just kind of kill everything. Can't help it. We could have stopped at the VCR, to be honest with you.
oh
Could
god,
have
yeah.
If that aired the VCR in the microwave, we were good.
I was thinking about how CDs, like the CDs, the CD
Yeah,
craze, it was very short lived in the scheme of things, and it's like
yeah, because I still buy vinyls.
yeah,
You know,
I have a record collection, and but like it's
I buy the vinyl and
yeah,
I'll just download it off a torrent from my iPod.
yeah. Oh no, yeah, I subscribe to YouTube Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you buy the vinyl and they give you a download code. You can just download it.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I even have a thing where you can plug in to my vinyl, like to my computer, and it rips the song.
Okay.
But I never use
scratches.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never
Wicked.
use it.
No, but it's like such a but like CDs, it was just very short lived in terms of like
I have a ton of CDs
yeah.
still. It's
I
useless. I have a CD
couple
wall
left.
in my car this thick. I go like, I'll just have this in my car. I don't need it, but I have it.
Yeah. But it's just like CDs in the scheme of things, they're just so easy to damage. Probably the easiest to damage of any of the mediums, even compared to 8-tracks.
Some artists I listen to, so when they release an album, they'll release a vinyl and then they'll release a CD. Now they're even releasing cassettes.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what the f*** you're releasing? I buy a whole package sometimes. They go, okay, with this, you get a jacket, you get a t-shirt, you get the vinyl, the CD, and the tape. I'm like, who is buying? And it sells out. Like people are buying tapes like that.
There's a nostalgia effect. There's a nostalgia factor to it, much like with vinyl, but it's
I guess, but I don't think tapes sound better.
I don't think so either, and it's also I don't
legitimately sounds not better. It sounds different.
Do people like? Are there parts of the country? I guess like I think with places like L.A. it's a little bit different because everybody's has to drive everywhere and everybody gets like all these
I guess
cars
if you're like
more.
if you're like a drug dealer with a shitty car and you only have a tape deck,
that's a major market.
For buying cassettes.
But are there parts of the country where it's like more people have cassette players in their cars? Because that's the only thing I can imagine.
I doubt it.
I've never.
I think Cuba is like that because they had I don't know about now since they lifted whatever the hell they went up, but back in the day, all the cars there were old,
1950s.
Like I think they didn't even have tape decks, to be honest with you. So like they were even before that. Now I don't know how caught up they are now, but
such a different time. What bands have you been listening to over the past couple?
What am I listen to a lot of rap music.
Okay, right on. What
I listen to this alternative this group called Dutch. It's just like a woman and a producer. It's not a rap thing at all. But I've been listening to that lately. And what else did I listen to? I listened to so much I don't even remember any of it anymore. I bought 2 vinyls from this artist I support on Patreon. He only made like 100 of each, and I bought them both. And that's where I really noticed it, because it's an album I've been listening to in my headphones and in the car for like a year, and then I get the vinyl and I notice the difference. Yeah. But you're not going to notice really otherwise. If it's a fresh song, you probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
It's got to be a song you listen to, like, oh, I've never heard that thing. Like all the levels are different.
Oh God, there's.
I got a French, a friend of mine got me a vinyl of this French group called I Am.
Okay.
I've been listening to this French vinyl. It's pretty good. It sounds good to me. And then, my fiance, she's got a bunch of vinyls that we live. A lot of old music, like, the First Lady of Song and things like that. She has more of a mainstream taste. She has we have like a Beyonce album.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
So.
I was just looking up. There's a web series that I think you might like called "What Makes This Song Great."
Okay.
It's he might be a guitar teacher. I don't know, a music teacher of some kind, but somehow he gets the rights to all of these songs, like with the masters, and he's able to break everything down between timing signatures and just all these little things in
music nerd stuff. I used to listen to that because I used to work in a sound studio. I used to do music. I used to be in a band. I used to do music.
No
Yeah. So I used to work in a sound studio, and I worked with the rock soul installation and doing the mix. Back then we used Logic. I don't know if they still use that now.
I know the program.
Yeah, but I found that kind of ruined. Just kind of now, I find I really ruined art for myself, because once you get into music, then when you listen to music, you're just listening to oh, they recorded this in a studio, or they forgot to cut out the air right before the verse started. I hear the and that's now I watch commercials. I'm like, oh, I see how they auditioned for this, and
that's how I feel. Even when I started background acting when I first moved to LA, it was starting to take away some of the magic, but at the same time I'm blown away what they're able to accomplish in terms of what a final product looks like.
Well, you know what the irony is? The irony is, you would think the more you got into this, and it is true in a way, you become a bit of a snob, or you're just picky, or you have a bit more of an advanced taste, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But ironically, it's actually made me appreciate movies and like that more, because I know all the work that went into it.
Oh, 100%.
When you don't know anything, you watch what, it sucks. All these guys that made you don't care. You're like, oh well, it didn't work out. It sucks. But I'm not gonna think that,
Yeah, it takes a village to get something like that together, and particularly in the case of Hollywood, some of the most talented, and if not talented yet, most reliable people in the world who are still focusing on their craft to use. Whether even to deliver a fucking cup of coffee, it's you got to be all sorts of reliable.
It's a bit too high pressure, but high pressure.
Very high pressure.
It's guys, we're not saving anybody's life here. None of this is really that important,
I forget what show that I was working, but it was in the middle of a heat wave, and they were making it abundantly clear that if you are feeling if you are feeling like you might have heat stroke, let us know. Just we're not. This isn't science or anything. We're not saving lives. This is just entertainment.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a humble way of approaching something so incredibly.
But that's what I thought was going to happen here when the pandemic started, because all these casting directors and people like agents now, like, what's important. And it seemed like, oh, maybe I guess when this all comes back, we'll proceed with some sort of compassion. Dude, after a few months when things came back, we're still not even back yet. I got an audition like at 3, like, you have to have this in 3 hours.
Oh, like, God, yeah.
Why? I'm not home, God forbid. It's like, I got to run home, do this, do a bad job. I was like, oh, it didn't take, that was in, November? So March, it was all like, hey, we're in this together. We're going to change the way. And even when it comes like 3 hours to do this Is Us audition or whatever, that like, what am I really going to, I'm not even home. So it's like, people just, I don't know, for some reason, there's like, feels like people think we're doing very important work here. They kind of, I think a part of that is a guilt complex, because most of us came here because we were attracted to this because it was fun.
Yeah.
And we have a good time. But if you look like that, you feel like you're just a bum. It's like, no, this is really hard work. It's very stressful. I didn't just get carried away with that. Now everyone is just kind of like miserable and on edge. But we're just trying to tell jokes and make movies. Like, it's not,
just because the stakes are so astronomically high financially, and particularly, I look at the Tom Cruise situation, which I feel he was in every right to be that pissed.
Yeah.
And like yelling at the crew members on set. It's like, and not only did I feel like he was in every right to be that pissed, but I don't think the star of the movie should have been in the position to be the one to yell at these people. Like, there should have been a COVID officer.
It's because he was producing it also, I think.
Okay, he was
both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why he was saying I have so much money, because his point was kind of like, well, one, he had the money that he put in himself. I don't think it was that as much as just he was saying, if one person here gets COVID and we have to shut down, then other movies, they're going to look at us failing and they're just not going to do it. Yeah, it's a big deal. To me, everybody kind of looked at that. Like, I saw people on social media, like, they hated him because they thought it was him taking some like political stance on masks. I go, no, it was literally just, he's running a business. He's the boss.
And not only
one guy gets sick, it's all, he's going to lose everything. Like, your boss it sucks, but sometimes he'll yell at you if you make mistakes,
And it's not even just that. He also made it a point. It wasn't about him. It wasn't just his ass being on the line, but also the fact that film production, like, people's college funds are being replenished. Like, people are able to pay rent and feed their families, which I think people lose sight of, that this business just employs so many people in a time when there's just so few people working.
I know. This is kind of it's kind of like it's the last, not the last, there's so many other things, but it is kind of amazing that, like, I'm still because people are still working. I'm still auditioning, people are booking acting jobs. Yeah. It's like, that's still, it kind of has to go, because apparently right now we reached the end of watching all the stuff that was made kind of right before COVID or was being edited during COVID. So now we're entering a time where they kind of don't have anything. Is that starting now? It wasn't this whole time, because this whole, it's always a delay.
Yes.
Because even my fiance, she works at a production, a big movie studio.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, so how is this year? This year she still got her bonus. And she goes, oh, no, this year wasn't bad. It's going to be next, because this year we profited off of everything we made kind of the year before. It's going to be next year.
Wow.
Which is now. Now we're going to run into, what are we going to see? Because it's the people making stuff now,
Yeah.
They were making in COVID when you couldn't hire anybody.
And then it's like they're going to
be will be interesting. And I think if you're a person like a content creator or whatever, like, now this specific time is going to be sort of your moment to grab people, because they'll kind of be less out there, less new stuff out there.
Okay, I never thought of it that way. Competing less with what's on Netflix or Hulu.
Right. Even though I think HBO, because they bought all those movies
from
Warner, so I guess that's going to be the thing that fills the gap. Everyone's going to watch those,
Yeah. They're going to do just fine with Friends, and I think they got Fresh Prince. And that reunion, which I didn't see the Fresh Prince reunion yet. I would like to.
Is the reunion the dramatic one? Or did they do a Zoom one or something?
Is it a Zoom one?
I don't know what they did. They did something like that. But now I heard they're making like a dramatic version of the Fresh Prince. Did you see? I saw like a trailer. It looked kind of funny because it was dramatic. I was like, oh no, it's real. They're really going to do this version of the Fresh Prince where it's like a dramatic version of it.
It's funny because Fresh Prince was one of those shows I feel its high points where you really got a grasp of how incredibly talented Will Smith is as an actor. They were the dramatic moments, like when he got shot and was demanding the gun back from Carlton, when his dad walked out on him on a second time. Like really, that's when we learned that Will Smith.
It's an underrated show. It's underrated because even though it was a big, wild success, but whenever I think of top sitcoms, I never think about it. But when I really think about it, it was an amazing show, beginning to end.
Yes.
But it never enters my mind. I always think of like Seinfeld or something, and like that's always like the number one for me.
Yeah.
Like kind of nothing.
Which Seinfeld is brilliant in its own right, but it didn't really have dramatic moments. It was really one energy throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
Like
I guess Friends tried to do both. They tried to do we do the Seinfeld New York shitty people, and we'll have some dramatic whatever.
I think How I Met Your Mother did that very well with the comedy and drama.
How is it How I Met Your Mother on for like 9 years or something?
Yeah, very long time.
To me, it's gone now. To me, it's still a new show. Like that's how I feel kind of old. Like, oh, that's still kind of a newer show, right? Like now it's old and it's gone and it's won and everything.
I binged it at the beginning of the pandemic and like it feels new, whereas at the same time some of the jokes are like so dated. Like they're even like like season 8 or season 9, there was an episode where Ted is dating I think like a 20-year-old and like they're finding stuff to do and they go to food trucks back when like the food truck craze was like a big thing. Even laser tag, which was an ongoing running gag throughout the series. It's like laser tag, that's such an old craze.
But that's like nothing. I don't even know what you can get away with now. I watched one. There's an acting school I used to go to do self tapes right around here, Stan Kirsch Studios. And my teacher, I took a class with him. He hung himself a year ago. Oh. It was like very sad. It was terrible. And then I saw they made a TMZ article about him.
Yeah.
And it showed he was in an episode of Friends, which I remember seeing. I just didn't know it was him.
Okay.
But he played a guy who was in high school.
Yeah.
And having a sexual relationship with Monica. So there was like an episode where she's banging a high school person. Like high school guy. You would never do that now. That was just like a regular sitcom kind of, but she was a bit embarrassed about it, like.
Oh no.
And that was, like, wow, and that was like in the 90s,
Yeah.
It's not even like in the 90s, late 90s,
Okay. Yeah. Wow. No. It's It's funny. Like my first commercial acting coach, she was in the. She's been in this forever. She was in the Chinese food restaurant of Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, Cartwright. Yep. Cartwright. What are they calling him? Cartwright. Yeah. That's like the only show where the more I see the same episode, I find it funnier. I don't have that. I look forward to the joke that I know is coming, and I laugh at it. It's insane.
This is like the first time like I was slowly rewatching all of Seinfeld. Like I wasn't binging it or anything, but just as an escape from everything that's going on. And I felt that before, like growing up in New York, Seinfeld is a part of your culture, like an Upper West Side Jew. And but I found that Seinfeld back then, like I was too young to appreciate. Not only the subject matters, but just like the brilliant style of writing. Like Larry David, like he just made that entire show, and he almost invented a genre of comedic storytelling.
very much. Well, apparently Seinfeld, I was too young to know it even back then, but some older person had told me that they had kind of created that thing where like the scenes were very quick.
Okay.
Like boom, 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 and it would go in the kitchen, and they would only have like a page, and it would go to another one. Because I think shows before that, they kind of had longer scenes. Like Cheers was always in the bar.
Oh yeah, that was the first.
Like one shot. It's just like one long scene where Seinfeld had like a scene for one page here, one page in the car, like going back to Elaine's story that they had. You know what I mean? It was like, it was all about. It was honestly constructed a little bit like if you were doing, 20 minutes of stand up, you just have, okay, this joke's a minute, this joke's 2 minutes, this joke's 4 minutes, this joke's 1 minute. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and just what it needs to have, to fill in.
I've always likened it to, I don't know if you ever took classes at UCB, but doing a Herald's. Whereas,
yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's quick. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, whereas like if you like the first beats, that's like Act 1, the second beats, that's Act 2, third beats, Act 3, and then you have the closing scene, the button on the end that just ties everything together. And a lot of shows follow that structure. Like It's Always Sunny did that very well. How I Met Your Mother's another one, and the League. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, that's a picture. Is that still on, or
it hasn't been for a while now, a couple years.
Do you think improv is going to come back?
Like improv comedy, I think that's the one that's going to take the biggest hit.
But I have this thing where I'm always kind of like, well, okay, what's going to leave and what's going to come back? But I can kind of see once things open up, whatever that is, I can kind of see everything having a huge surge. Because whoever was doing improv or was into improv, they're all going to show up and put on a show. Whoever watches it is going to go watch it.
I hope.
Everything's going to have a surge, and then we'll see if anything kind of goes away after the surge.
I think there's going to be a year or two of people being very reluctant to go into a crowded room with a lot of people. And who knows, maybe something like the Comedy Store, Groundlings, like who's to say places like that won't have capacity restrictions for the next couple of years.
Even after the vaccine?
I don't know. The question is how many people are going to take the vaccine. There's a lot of factors at play, but I don't know. I'm being very pessimistic towards that, and I don't necessarily think that's healthy with everything. It's too much to be pessimistic over.
Well, it's easier to give up. Not pessimistic, not like in a pessimistic way, but like kind of like, you know what, just pretend it's just like this now. Just be at peace with the way things are instead of like, no, but maybe in a few months. Like if you just keep looking forward to something that might, who knows when it's going to happen. It's kind of more stressful.
But somebody once told me that when you are pessimistic, you either leave a situation completely unfazed or pleasantly surprised. So who's to say?
That was kind of like, parent expect the worst. I mean, honestly, it worked for everyone. I had moved out here. I moved out here with people that were super optimistic and so a bit like annoyingly so.
Oh yeah, I think it's with everybody.
They all kind of quit this, whatever the you want to call it. They quit, and one of them quit like right away. One of them quit after a few years, and I'm like, I never quit because I didn't have any expectations of, and things didn't go bad for me anyway. But I feel like a big part was they had such huge expectations.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like when people move to this city, if they are not if they weren't moving into the city with a connection or have some sort of sense of what this industry is like, it's easy to think that if you're at least likable, like things are going to happen for you. No, this is a lot of hard work.
Well, we're lucky because we have stand-up. Those people that I moved here, like even if I moved, I didn't know anybody. Okay. But just the fact that, I can go to an open mic and I could do stand-up, then eventually I'll get booked. We have our thing anywhere you go. If you, for some reason, have to move to Seattle, you're not really going to be lonely. You're going to you're going to look up open mics in Seattle. You're going to go do it's like, we kind of have a thing that's, it's kind of like a protector. Like I couldn't imagine if I was here and I wasn't doing comedy.
Okay. So you're saying, if you're struggling as an actor versus a comedian, it's easier to give up just on the lonely factor. I can 100% see that. Yeah.
Factor, yes, and also it's a double. Everything is a paradox. Everything's like a double-edged sword. Because yes, so in comedy, okay, well at least I'm not lonely and I'm not thinking about how bad everything is. I'm not. But you can also just be spinning your wheels, going to the same 3 mics over and over again for like 9 years. Like that's kind of bad too in a way.
It is.
But at least it's an easier. You're not as miserable, than if you're just waiting for an audition or something and just working at your job and being home or whatever it is.
There are plenty of people who have been doing comedy at 2 or 3 mics, the same bar open mics, and they're able to hang out and congregate, and they're. I'm not going to say under the illusion that it's considered meaningful human interaction, because who the am I to judge? But I wish they were doing other stuff outside of comedy, so there'd be a little bit more stage time to get.
A reason, but yeah, I feel like now even stand up, like I went to a mic yesterday. A lot of people were there, and it's like we're all just hanging out, smoking, drinking. I mean, I don't drink, but
yeah.
There, and then we sat down, and the mic started. I was like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm at an AA meeting now. That's kind of what it feels like. There's no. It's like, oh, now we're just gonna sit down and watch each other speak. Yeah. Like, because before there was just so many shows going on, so like you were like always doing it kind of in preparation for the.
Yeah.
And hope, now it's kind of like, no, I guess now we're really just doing it to do the thing.
Like now we are doing it. This is what I have found. I felt before the pandemic, there were people who were going to open mics for all sorts of different reasons. And the pandemic.
Which screwed me up, because like I see all the people that are not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And now it's been a long time.
It's
been a long time to not do it. If you were a person doing it. Yeah, if you're a person doing it for like 2 years at least, this is a long time to not do it. It's enough time that you'd be like, well, I guess they're not coming back.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make. There was so many, and I thought those people were just people that needed to do stand. Not really loved it necessarily, but I know Jordan says this to people: if you don't need to do stand up, don't do it.
I 100%.
Whatever that means to you. I'm not saying like because you love it so much that it makes you happy, because it doesn't really mean that necessarily. But there's people that I guess we're doing this, like they went to university, they had a few years to kill before any urgency hit, and they're like, I'm just going to try to do something, see if I can parlay this into a writing job. Like they're doing it kind of like a business, which I guess is smarter. I guess it's small. I'm not even criticizing, But,
I think what Jordan Lear says, like I've been saying something similar along the lines, stop going to open mics right now for social reasons, because it is becoming a liability, not only to our safety, but to open mics being able to take place at all. Like, there are places like the Mint on Pico that was doing mics on their sidewalk for a bit could still have been going on if people weren't showing up. It was like 40 people signing up a week, and with no intention on really pursuing this craft in any meaningful way.
I know, but at the same time, like I'm not like that. Like I'm not a person like, hey, I want to go and I want to hang out.
Yeah.
Maybe if my life was a bit shittier, I understand why somebody would be like that. Or if I was younger, if I was like 23 or so, I can see why that exists. But I wish I was more like that, because I wish I enjoyed myself more the whole time. Yeah. And that's kind of what the social aspect sort of gives you. Because like you forget through all of this, the reason you did this is because it's something that makes you happy. I studied accounting first. I didn't do it because it made me happy. I did it because, like, okay, I guess I'll get a job and it'll make me money,
Yeah.
But at least it hasn't. We didn't get into this. I mean, I love to make a lot of money, but that was so not a guarantee. So it's like sometimes you forget. I was like, oh, I should also focus on having a good time and taking it easy. You know what I mean? Like, hit one mic less and hang out. I wish I did that more, instead of doing the whole, like I'm doing it like a video game mission, going, what I mean? Like, what was
I need to hit 4 mics a night, otherwise I'm not going to get good.
Yeah, I noticed that with, I had stopped. I very much cut down on I quit drinking when I moved here, and I cut down a lot on smoking pot. I used to smoke a lot of pot, and now during the pandemic, I've been smoking a lot more. But what I noticed is whenever I would go into a phase of smoking, which is usually just like a few weeks, let's say I'll smoke for my birthday, and I'll smoke for a few weeks. I would always kind of either I would book an acting job, something good I would accomplish something. And it never made any sense to me because when I'm smoking, I think I'm worse because I'm eating more, my sleep is worse. But then somebody pointed out, I was like, yeah, but it's probably because you're happier. It's probably just because you're having a good time. And that's a different energy too.
So you think radiating energy out into the world, positive energy, things will be different? You'll get more out of a social situation or just any. That's one way. Yeah, because I don't know.
It's a slow thing I'm learning. It doesn't work for me because I guess I was raised whatever. My parents and I did a math. So I just don't see life that way. No, you gotta do a lot of work to get the thing. That's not really true because now I've seen enough people work way harder than me for way longer than I am, and didn't really lead to anything.
That's scary.
And I've seen instances of my own life. I've seen people that don't kind of do shit, but they're just kind of happier. I mean, these are all rare outliers, but I just noticed kind of in my life, there is a benefit to being happy, to being a bit joyous.
Yes.
And the pandemic taught me a little bit about that. I was like, oh, you know what? I had drank a few times in the pandemic, which I would never do. I'd smoked a bunch of weed. I had eaten what I want. I was like, oh, there's a kind of, I gained 10 pounds. So what? Or whatever. Or maybe I look a bit worse, quote unquote. But I am kind of happier, and that matters. It matters. When you do a set or when you do an audition, it shows if you're stressed inside of you or if you're just kind of unfulfilled, unhappy.
I don't know if you could back me up on this, but my last teacher has told me even if you accidentally start laughing on an audition, that's a sign to to who's ever the casting director. Oh, this guy is actually having fun, and he will.
I believe. I mean, I don't know
to a degree.
I haven't
not.
I think that is kind of a lot of it because I think a lot of actors go to auditions and they're so nervous.
Yeah.
So you picture if you're a casting director is just a person who works a job in an office. They're like a regular person. They're not like a huge famous director.
They're like an HR person to a degree.
Yeah.
They're kind of manager,
So they're imagine, so their day, they're working, they're doing work, they have to do. And the mailman comes, delivers a package, they have a conversation for a minute, or they order food. That guy comes, gives them food, and then an actor walks in, hi, hello, how are you? And they're it freaks them out. Such a break. Whereas if you acted like the mailman, it would be more of a comforting experience for them, which would make it a comforting experience for you.
Yeah.
So that's why I can see that if you f***ed up but it's a laughing up, not a crying one.
Gotcha.
That it would sort of, they'd be like, oh, I would like this person in my office more. It's kind of as simple as that. It's oh, when this person comes in the office,
is he going to be annoying?
That's why they always
Good
go
hang.
I mean, now I don't think it matters. They're not doing this anymore, in-person auditions, but they always go I have to call in 16 people. I already know the first 10 I'm calling because I kind of call in the same people that they kind of like being around or who's not going to be an issue or something.
Yeah. Is do you think virtual auditions, that's going to be a permanent thing?
Yeah, well, it's going to be permanent. It's just I just a question of, are they all going to be like that? And I know that casting, for their own scheduling has been kind of trying to move more and more people to self-tape.
Yeah.
And,
it's such an unnecessary expense for a production company at this point to even rent out a casting office.
Yeah, casting people can just work from home.
Yeah.
And there was a thing, I have a friend, she used to work in casting, and she made a pretty good point to me because I prefer going in because I'm a whore. I like to stand. I'll do for me doing a mic, I do a mic for like 3 people. I'm happy. So going into a casting office to me is the same shit. I'll just go and I'll just try to make these 3, you know what I mean? I'll just try to entertain these 3 people. So you lose that. But then she told me, and she worked in casting. She goes, yeah, I think everything's going to go on tape. And she goes, I think a big reason for that is that casting doesn't help. They're valuable in terms of calling in the right people who suit the character, but them in the room telling you how to do it isn't helping. Because they're not actors, they're not directors, they're just, I mean, maybe some of them used to be, but they're not. It's like it is better off just you actor, do whatever you think it should be and send us the tape, rather than it's a casting director giving all 18 people the same one direction. You know, I looked at the audition tape of the guy, the Stranger Things guy, where he did a tape in his bedroom where he's playing music and he's dancing. And it was a pretty compelling audition to watch, because what he did is, in the scene, he's supposed to be driving in a car. Yeah. And he's about to plow into a group of people. And all the lines saying, stop, stop, stop. So what he did is, instead of driving, he was dancing to music. And as he was getting closer, the music was going higher and he was dancing more. And the woman was telling him stop. It was a very compelling thing to watch. That would have never happened if you're going into a casting office. You know, it would have, and he was wearing sunglasses. You couldn't see his eyes, you know, so.
Able to get more creative.
Yes, then you really get to bring something. And maybe that's going to be the difference in terms of, hey, let's cast this guy who's doing something completely different than what we want, because we like it better, you know. Instead of telling everybody, yeah, just throw it away. Like, that's just throw it away. I was like, it is thrown away. I can't throw it away more, you know.
Wow.
So
that's something that I is one plus of like Zoom comedy, is that I feel it does prepare a lot of people for the prospects of self-taping. In terms, if you could, I don't know if that's just a theory of mine.
No, it does. It helps, because I think even auditions, there's Zoom auditions. Also, I had one like that. Yeah. So I guess in that sense, the Zoom shows really help, because you're literally performing for somebody on Zoom. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think Zoom comedy is going to stay when things are normal?
To some degree, I think there's some aspect. I could see Zoom corporate gigs being a thing for a while. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't see. I'm actually very curious about that in terms of like the long term. Are people from all over the world going to be planning out part of their day like, oh, I need to get to this Zoom mic or this?
I don't know. I think for me personally, it depends. I also kind of wonder how many comics are going to come back, because now I feel like I see everybody who we see, and it's just been us for so long.
Yeah.
That I fathom, are the rest of them going to come? They might not come back. And if it's just us, when it goes back, I don't think any of us are going to necessarily go back to doing like 27 mics in a week.
Oh no, God. You know? What was it? 2019. So, I did over 1,000 sets, 1,021 sets by the end of the year. And let me tell you something. I got so much like exponentially better at what I do doing 300 sets in the middle of like the pandemic versus 1,000, where I'm not focusing on rewriting. I wasn't even really present. Like I was just.
You were just focused on. You got really good at standing on stage and speaking English.
Yeah, that's.
But it didn't necessarily translate to. And I noticed that this year, or like say last year, is even though there was no mics and everything was outdoors. Okay, yeah. So I did less stand-up, but I feel like all the stand-up I did was better quality stand-up.
Yeah.
Because there was a bunch of people, like actual people at mics. It was just like a different year. I was like, I did less, but it was better, and I feel like I kind of got better because of that.
Also, Kurt Steinmuller made a good point about how outdoor comedy, it forces you to have better stage presence to project. Yeah. Yeah. I think for a lot of us, like when the clubs reopen, places that are specifically engineered for live stand-up comedy, that is going to benefit us in ways we haven't even begun to realize yet.
It's true. Because I did a mic at Echoes right before Christmas, and they were having it indoors.
Yeah.
So it was the first time I did stand up indoors in like God knows how many months.
God.
It felt so different.
Yeah.
So I was like, I forgot that it's different. Obviously, Zoom is different than live. But I was like, oh, it's like now there's indoors, outdoors, and Zoom. Indoors and outdoors are such worlds apart, you know? You don't have to expend so much effort indoors.
Yeah.
It's kind of like doing outdoor comedy is like doing theater. Doing indoor comedy is like doing television. And doing Zoom comedy is like doing a podcast. And I have to range like what it is, what to compare it to, but
I've never, I haven't thought of it that way, but yeah, and theater in a lot of like theater, that's where actors go to really get their chops, because
yeah, well, because for theater, you're the only. It's always like this. They go, theater is an actor's medium, film is a director's medium,
yes,
television is a writer's medium.
Yes.
So when you watch TV, it's all about the writing. The actor is there, but he's really just reciting the writing. Like it's not a big. Obviously, like shows like Breaking Bad, where it's like the acting's amazing, but usually that's not what it is. And film is the same thing. It's about the cinematography, how it looks, the tone. That's why they take. That's why in film, for some reason, they'll spend a whole afternoon shooting a 3-second scene. You know.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to do that. And theater, when you go see the theater, a play, it's just you quietly watching one guy on a whole, and it's only him that has to do it.
And once once that play gets rolling, like the actor, or not the actor, the director doesn't call the shots. The actor, he's completely in control.
Yeah. And sometimes he's the only. I saw a play on Broadway. I forgot what it was called, La Bête, I think. Mark Rylance.
Okay.
He's like probably like the best actor in the world right now. I saw him do a 47-minute monologue.
Okay. Yeah, there's
minutes where he was doing like walking around. He locked himself in a trunk. He changed. He ate, all while speaking continuously to himself for 47. I was like, I was like, he spoke for 47 fucking minutes, and people were freaking in the audience.
There was a friend of mine, John Misi. He did a one-act play at the Santa Monica Playhouse about the life of Christian Brando. It was a one-act play, one-man show, and it was basically a monologue, and he remained in character and the whole time. The idea of being in character that long and not breaking, that is alien to me. And like it was just like watching this. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Christian Brando, but he had a really, really f***ed up life. He went to jail for manslaughter of his sister's fiance over, like, I don't remember the whole story, but it was just the thing that blew my mind about this experience was the real life lawyer for Christian Brando was in the audience and gave him a standing ovation at the end. And I can't imagine, like tears were brought to it. Like it had to have been so humbling for my friend to be able to pull this off. Like that is a skill. Like you can't even begin to. Like that's the sign of a good actor. Someone who's able to like just completely remain committed, be in it for that long.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. So that's kind of what we gained from doing the beach, from doing mics outside. That's basically you're doing it in a dog park. It's
those two are the same.
So that's kind of what you gained a little bit. You're going to notice when you're back to doing a small place where there's 10 people in a room or 100 people in a room. Even it's like it's easier, I would say.
Yeah, all these amphitheaters, sidewalks. I don't know if you did. Have you done any of the mics at LA School of Comedy yet?
I think so. I think I did it one like a while ago. I do all these mics like once.
Okay.
Like maybe like two. I keep doing. But
I did the sidewalk mic the other day, and like there was like 4 comics left. All of them were on their phones, not paying attention.
Yeah.
And I noticed like there were cars like waiting at a stoplight. There was some traffic. The windows were rolled down, and people were watching this because they were just like fascinated, like stand-up comedy. That is that didn't know that was a thing, and I was just like doing crowd work to people who were in their cars. I even got an Instagram follower out of it, which is really funny.
Nice. But yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I'm even okay with the way it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want things to come back so you can become successful.
It's
but,
not there's a certain,
yeah.
There's a certain rush that I really, really miss from doing well in the lab.
I didn't have that I mean, I did well in the lab a few times, but I didn't have that attachment so much because I didn't go every week.
Okay.
I know, because I know you have that. I know Jordan has that.
Yeah.
And all these people that you guys went all the time. Like that was like a thing that you guys did.
Yeah.
For me, as soon as I got that one time, and I got to go to the late spots.
Yeah.
I stopped going. I was like, okay, I'm good. I didn't like going. It was weird. I liked doing well like anybody else, yeah. But I didn't like the wait for a long time.
Yeah, nobody likes the wait. I think to a degree it's a part of the process. Yeah.
People kind of like the wait.
Yeah.
I talk because everybody is there. You're literally just hanging out.
Yeah.
So they had a good time in the wait. They're smoking. But for me, I was taking everything so seriously back then. It's like, no, I don't want to smoke when I'm waiting to go do a set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end. So for me, it's kind of like I'm really just waiting, whereas like, oh, I guess if you just relax.
I'm glad something in all this. I'm glad that when things reopen, like I feel a lot closer to dozens and dozens of comics. Like Ben Hurwitz is now one of my best friends from all this. Like Kurt Steinmuller.
We're the ones who stuck around.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't feel so. There's nothing to get. We're really just here to do it. There's nothing to like.
Yeah.
We're not competing for anything.
Right.
Even though
it's about the art.
I guess we were. But the thing is, in my opinion, we were never competing. Even though you go to those things like the lab and only a few people get the spot, you didn't lose the spot to anybody. It's just you're on your own journey.
Yeah, right place, right time.
The road to success, if it ever comes, is so long that you can't even necessarily look at it as a competition. Because if you're only going to succeed in let's say someone tells you, yeah, you'll succeed in 10.5 years. You won't even think that's so bad. And you can't really look at it like, who did I beat in 10 years from now? It's not a lottery. It's not a sport where it's like it's you physically coming on top of somebody else.
Do you remember a song from the 90s called "Everybody's Free to Wear Sunscreen"?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's a graduation speech over like a track. It's like a spoken word song. And it's basically this guy giving all this advice to the graduating class of 1999. Just wow, that's how old this song is. And there's one line in the song. Everybody's free to wear.
I remember graduation.
No, this predates graduation by a couple years.
Yeah,
there's one line in the song. This one piece of advice that always sticks with me. The race is long. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind, but in the end, it's only with yourself.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's what all that law of attraction stuff and it's all that. It's all like you're hurting yourself if you focus on anybody else, because then they always say whatever you focus on is what you get. So even if you're focusing on somebody else, be like, I want to beat that guy. All you're doing is thinking about that guy. So when you're thinking about him, you don't attract really the thing that you want. You have to literally imagine what it is that you want. And like all those quotes that always say that, stay in your lane, focus on you. I think that all just comes from the same place. And because it's just so hard to do, because it's a paradox again, because as human beings, all we are our whole thing is relationships.
Yeah.
It's like
human
we're
connection.
Attracted to each other. So, but how do you not focus on each other if all you're doing is trying to be around each other for the most part? Your
a little bit of a catch-22.
yeah, but yeah, that's the thing is you are kind of what you imagine. So
yeah, and I do.
I'm trying to work out my imagination to a better place, but
yeah, I do. because we're on so like even now it's so weird because for the most part our careers are on hold for the time being. Some of us are able to get more work than others, but there are a select group of people.
People's careers opposite. They took off like crazy.
Oh
during
God,
this time.
yeah.
I know him because he goes to the same Indian restaurant that I do.
Wait, who?
It's just some guy. I don't know him. The guy who runs this Indian restaurant knows him. He told me about him.
Yeah.
But I know him because I auditioned for a project he was producing.
Okay.
So I'm thinking he's some big time producer. The guy at the Indian restaurant told me, he said no. Because all he did is he did some, documentary on a certain topic. It was like some Christian Jesus thing.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting a bunch of followers from that specific person he did the documentary about. And then he just started making videos like these inspirational Jesus type of sketches. And he ended up becoming a millionaire almost overnight. He has a mansion now in the Valley. And it happened all because of this pandemic, because people are now, whoever's watching that is really watching it all the time, And every video he puts out gets like hundreds of millions of views. And if I showed you these videos, you would have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
You would watch like,
what the
fuck? Yeah. I watched it, I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, that's what you had to do. It was like nothing.
I know.
It was like nothing. No, like not creative on purpose.
Yeah. And there are a couple who have found their way to continue working to some sort of. Like I know two comics who got their first scripts in the door, and one of them is now a staff writer on one of the sitcoms at Fox. And
so that happened during
the pandemic, where it's like, and like Punky Johnson got SNL during the pandemic. It's like that's something.
A lot of people.
Yeah, and it's something you can't be jealous over because, again, one, everybody's path is different. Two, they busted their asses way, way harder for way, way longer, more persistent with it. But it's still like, it's like, what are you doing wrong?
I find one thing I learned in the pandemic, and this could just be getting older, the busting your ass, the working really hard to get what you want was like, it's a fantasy. It's kind of like, and you know what's interesting about it? I kind of feel like it's lazy. It's sad, and that's another paradox. Everything is a paradox. As another paradox, work. Say like, you know what? All I'm gonna do is grind and do whatever I can, and I'll make it. That's like a lazy. That's easy to do that. It's a lot of energy you're expending, but the simplicity of it is lazy. It's about you gotta maybe try to get a writing agent. You gotta maybe try to win a film festival. The whole thing is you're supposed to be trying whatever you can to get in.
Take whatever.
No, as long as I work hard, somehow someone's gonna care.
I think working hard on many things and getting good at all these different crafts, even
the hard work is not because I always apply hard work to energy, but it's not about energy. It's about
how it's allocated.
Learn something completely different, and now you're going to try to do this. Like I never got into social media. I have social media, like I have Facebook, I have Instagram. I never even got into really learning it, using it, trying to get a lot of follow. Like I never did that. Like that would have been way more beneficial than working hard. Like, no, I just write a lot and I go up and I do a lot of stand-up and I audition for a lot of things. Like kind of like, but there's other things that are easier, honestly, and that could have helped you more.
Even podcasting is something that's very, very new to me, and this is something that I'm still figuring out. And this started basically as, okay, I want to learn to use Adobe Premiere. I want to learn to edit. And I'm slowly getting half decent at that. And that's a skill that could now go on my resume.
Yeah, well, my friend Stefano, he's taking coding classes now.
Okay.
Like he's doing stand-up, like he just did.
Yeah.
Like he's in New York, so there's way less there. But he did like whatever they had, like the San Diego Film the San Diego Comedy Festival on Zoom. Like, yeah, I'll still do the stand-up, but I'll learn a new skill and I'll at least try to make money while I'm living my life, you know.
I think the quest to be a more functional person, the quest to learn new skills, it should never, ever stop. You should always try to sharpen your minds.
I think we're also at a different time now, because now I think we're going to morph as far as being like an artist, like if you're going to be a comedian or an actor or whatever. Now, because so many things are going to be digital and on Zoom, it's like the whole starving artist thing, I think, is going to get a lot smaller, because you don't have to be starving. You can literally just get a full-time job and still be an artist, because no one's going to call you, hey, be here in my office at 1 p.m. That's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, anymore. Now we're able to allocate our time a little bit better in terms like
you're on the phone. You can get away from whatever you're doing to go on the phone for 5 minutes, you know. So I think this is going to change. This is going to change art. This is going to change art completely, because different types of people are going to get into the arts and they're going to feel differently. Like now, we've always been feeling the kind of bitterness of the artist, the passion of the artist, the starvation of the artist, kind of again. Now we're going to start getting people like that have money, you know,
and the last generation of jaded artists
with very, very little struggle. And I'll be very interested to see, maybe the art is not worse. Maybe the music will be better. Maybe the acting will be better. Maybe like stand-up will be better. Who knows? But I think we're going to enter that in the next 50 years. It'll be the people succeeding never really struggled.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the next.
I think a lot, the fact that like if auditions go more digital, actors could now have a 9-to-5 and still
a full 9-to-5, making a lot of money and not even be in Los Angeles.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Do it in Nevada. Do it in a place like Nevada, like not necessarily Vegas, but like let's say Nevada, where you can get a huge house for $300,000.
Yeah.
Not really pay that much taxes, and you have a job that pays. Let's say if you're a professional, if you become an engineer, which you can do, you go to, if you're, you know, I always forget though, in America, it's hard to go to school. Where I'm from in Canada, going to college, I paid $1,000 a semester for my tuition.
Wow.
So it's kind of, it's very it's like going to school and getting an education is so easy there. And then I catch myself, oh no, here it's harder. But I guess you can always go to a community college, which is just, if your hustle is good, it's just as good. And you can become an actor while you do your job, because I guess it would help if you studied acting for a bit, but in terms of pursuing the job, you can, like, you get 3 auditions a week at most, where you got to record it at home when you have time. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you should pursue some sort of acting, like teaching. Like it is a craft.
I feel like you need that struggle though. You need that time where you do kind of have nothing, where you only have the thing. In terms of, I think you need a little bit of that desperation to make you better.
Was it Jim Carrey? Was it Jim Carrey who said, "If you're not desperate, you're not interesting"?
Kinda. I don't know if he said it, but I see what he means.
Paraphrasing.
But I think eventually you do have to drop it. But I think it does help. But I know I only think that from my point of view, because that's what I went through. So it's like I'll never be able to know. That's what happened with me with when Fourth Wall came along.
Yeah.
And like it was like the first time where you're booking, like doing a slot. It's very easy.
Yeah.
Very quick. You can do several in a row. And I looked at that. I was like, okay, this is cool, but this is not really, you're not going to get better at doing stand-up if you're only doing the same room over
in front of the
over
same people. Yeah.
That's what I thought. But then, after a few years, I saw people that only did Fourth Wall, and they're pretty good.
There are a handful that that make use of that room.
Yeah. So in my head, so I was like, okay, I only thought that because my experience, because there was no Fourth Wall, was no, you run to this coffee shop, then you go to that bar, and then you get on late at that club, and that's how it's supposed to be. It should be late. It should be different. But I guess not.
It should be inconvenient. Damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how it was for me. But that could be completely wrong. That's my point of view.
What if we're completely wrong about Zoom?
We could be wrong about Zoom. That's what I'm interested in. Is that I'm very curious in what I'm wrong about, because I'm going to see. I've already seen stand-up comedians, whatever you want to call them, starting to do stand-up now.
They're on Zoom.
Yeah, on Zoom.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'll be very interested on how these people will do. Let's say just when mics come back and you're just doing it, like, what if they're just as good? What if it's a bit rocky in the beginning, but then they get over it and they kind of join. Like, it's like, oh, it's like, how much easier should your life be? Is kind of the point. I was like, maybe I'm putting way too much emphasis on the wrong things, you know.
I'm curious.
You always find out too late.
I wonder if somebody who's never stepped foot in front of a microphone physically before is going to use Zoom to their advantage, really figure everything out, and be able to get into the club circuit with ever having to do an open mic.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see that. I am always interested in these experiments because it's always, and I always lose in the end. I always find out I'm working too hard, because I found out that even during the pandemic, I didn't work out at all. You know, there was no gym, nothing. I gained like a bunch of weight. Then I joined an outdoor gym. I started going to the gym kind of every day.
Okay.
And not training that hard because I was just getting back into it. And it's kind of packed. Like, it's hard to get a good workout. So I've been doing kind of bullshit workouts for a couple of months. I'm kind of pretty much in just as good a shape as I was when I was working out hard.
Oh, God,
I didn't need to work out that hard. It didn't matter, but I was working out hard. And I see that I've kind of done that with everything. I didn't need to be doing all those open mics to do well on shows, because I'm still kind of doing well now without doing kind of any, you know. And it's like, oh, I didn't need to do that. And that is an attachment issue, and it's the limit of your mind, because everything you live is just a memory. It's how your brain works. So you get attached to the memory. It's kind of like, oh, I'm doing a lot of open mics, like, so I got to just keep doing this forever, right? Because that's all I know. Like, you have to be good at letting go and only pursuing. And there's some comics who didn't even do a lot of mics, and they never did a lot of comedy. Yeah, they don't do comedy more than once a week, but they're making a living at it. But their concern was never like, do as much of it as possible.
They're out there. They're dating. They have day jobs that are working consistently. They have some sort of perspective to back up their point of view.
I think it even has something to do with having an addictive personality.
What, open mics?
I think if you're a person, like, if you're not just open mics, but anything. Even me and Ben Hurwitz talked about it. Even going to the gym. I was like, I was working out at the gym as if I was training for a competition, as if I'm going to go show my squatting. Like, it didn't matter. Like, why,
there are worse addictions to have.
Yeah. Well, it's anything. It's not just the gym. It's really anything. It's just like you get caught up in the thing you're doing, you know? It's like meditation. I try to meditate now. That's one thing I picked up in the pandemic.
That was.
But now if I miss a 1 or 2 days of meditation, I feel like, oh, I missed the meditation. Like, I'm trying to win some meditation competition. I'm falling behind. Like, you make it become an obligation that you feel like you have to get really good at.
Yeah.
But I think most things are not that. You don't need to be good at anything. You know, you just kind of have to do it and try to. Yeah, you don't need to, right? You don't.
I don't like. I come from a school of thought. Granted, this is becoming, like, to a lot of people, an outdated goal. But I would like to do a late night set on something like Colbert one day.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But you need to be good enough that you're able to get a good laugh in the first, like, 15 seconds. Like, you have to know. You have to know how to work a room. You have to.
Yeah, but you know that. I think the amount that you know it right now. Hold on, somebody is calling me. I got to give somebody a package. Hey, buddy, are you here?
Okay, I'm out front right now.
Okay, I'm gonna come right down and give it to you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no sweat.
my point is, by the time that happens for you, you'll be good enough to do it. But it's not like you're going to be the best comic you'll ever be, and then you'll get that. You know
100.
I mean? So I think, and I saw people get into stand-up when I was already doing it, and they would kind of like, yeah, they would do a mic, but they were kind of already trying to get shows before they even had 5 minutes.
Yeah, that I can't imagine.
Yes, but see, I know you can't imagine.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, you should be just trying to get it like now, like tomorrow, whether you can do it or not, because it'll take so long for you to get it anyway. You'll be ready when you get it.
I want to make sure, like, granted, I'm way better off than I was on March 11th. I want to make sure that if I am asked to do 10, 15 minutes, I will be able to deliver.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people who I've seen up their careers to some degree because they said they could do something that they could not. And they want to get a reputation for that.
But you could do 5 minutes
easily. A late
night show, whatever it is. So the whole thing is like, there's a bit of and not a disease, but there is a mental block that, I mean, I have it too, where it's like, I'm just trying to get really good. You get lost in trying to be good. It's like you getting good, you have to trust that it's just going to happen because you're doing it. And you got to focus on, I guess, making money. You have to give real focus to how am I going to make money at doing this. And I would always see people doing that. And it was always weird to me when they weren't, forget about being good, they weren't even really doing it yet. Like they kind of came in first trying to make money. And it was like, what the is that? It's kind of weird, you know? But I kind of wonder, because some of them actually succeeded and they do work and they do make money doing stand-up. So it's like, I've seen it work.
I can't process.
I guess because it still takes time. Yeah. Like I remember I saw some comment, I don't want to mention anybody's name, even though I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I saw some comic, he had just moved here. I think he's from like the South. And the first thing, he came to a mic at the hotel and he was saying like something like, oh man, how much do they pay here? I'm trying to get spots at he wanted to get spots at the club headline, like already. He just kind of moved here and started. And I was like, and people didn't really know how to take that. Guy's like, all right, yeah, relax. You have to, and he wasn't necessarily good yet, you know. But eventually he did get those things. Like, I remember like a year passed and I went to a club to do a mic after the show, and he was the one hosting the show at the club. I was like, oh, he got the thing? He actually got it because he took it, you know. If you're always there waiting, and by the time he got it, because it was a year later, he got good. Being good doesn't need your focus. It'll kind of just happen if you do whatever it is that you're already doing.
Oh yeah.
Your focus is the getting what you want thing, if that makes sense.
So it's just a complete opposite thinking, my mindset that I've had all these
years. Which is what I have. I have the same one.
Yeah.
And I've learned to call it out for what it is. It's lazy and it's a bit entitled, because you're like, well, you know what? I'll focus on getting good, and when I'm good, I'll get what I want. You know what I mean? But that's not true. No one's going to give you what you want just because you're good.
I don't think anybody's going to hand anything to you, and there's always going to be more assertive people.
It's about being, you have to find creative ways to get what you want, which you're doing. You are doing that too, but that kind of needs the 100% of the focus.
There are enough social climbers in this business that there are like not necessarily saying networking and social climbing are a bad thing. What I am saying in this particular,
not judge that. I used to judge that too.
Yeah.
Because I got into this business to get away from that.
Yeah.
Only to find out that it's way worse here.
But the social climbers that actually can do stand-up comedy, those are the ones that are going that you're
maybe
competing.
You should be making your focus.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wish I enjoyed myself more. I wish I hung out more, which is, I guess, a version. But like social climbing is not even. It's bad if you're a shitty person about it. Use it but no, being friends with people that like doing the same thing you do is not really that hard. It's not really that skeezy. It's nothing.
Okay.
Maybe that's the thing you need to give your focus to get what you want,
Yeah, I just don't like being around the kinds of people who, if they are in a social setting, they will sniff out who can benefit.
I don't mind that. I don't do that, but I've been in situations where people do that, and I've seen they're not good actors about it.
Yeah.
Do it. But I was like, this is
not being really subtle.
They're in their world. I'm in mine. It doesn't bother me. It's not my business. I don't take it personally. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's not. You just can't you have to just do whatever you can do to find the joy in your life.
100%.
And do whatever it is you can do. Like really look at it. Take an honest look at how you conduct your business.
Yeah.
Look at where you're deficient. Like, you know what? I'm not getting these 3 things I want. I need to devote my energy instead of focusing on like, no, I'll just get really good. This guy's going to think I'm a genius, which never really happens. You focus on creative ways to get what you want. Things that I used to look down on when I was doing my first 6 years of comedy. I would look at people and all they were doing was doing like, I was like, oh, they were just trying to make it, and some of them did. Some of them honestly did. So it's like they were right, I was wrong. So that's why when I tell people that think that way, I was like, yeah, I thought that way, and it's good because it made you good. I know that I'm good at doing stand-up.
Yeah,
but it didn't get me what I wanted. Yes, I want to be good at stand-up, but I also want to be making a living. I want to be successful. I want to matter a little bit.
Yeah. I remember going back to being happy and just finding joy. I was at a Q&A for Jeff Garland's new special that came out 2 years ago. He did it at Sycamore Tavern. He bought comics.
Really?
Yeah, he bought comics, dinners, drinks. It was super nice, and he just answered a bunch of questions. And one of like the reoccurring themes about about our path and about our path, being on our path, he was talking about the importance of finding joy wherever you can.
Yeah.
And that's something from that night that just sort of stuck with me.
Well, you know what? I always try to make things even simpler. Like, what's the secret to life? Enjoying it. That's kind of it. Enjoy it for what it's worth because it's the one you got. And I know it's harder for some people. It's I understand,
particularly right now.
Especially now, even though I guess I've been pretty lucky. A lot of the people that I know, they're all telling me the same thing. Like, actually, this year was kind of good for me. It was a break, and people seem to be pretty happy. I guess that means we're in a privileged.
I do feel so privileged in the sense that I come from a well-off enough situation that I am not starving. I don't have to go to a soup kitchen or a food bank. I will have a roof in my head, over my head, all this. The stakes are high, but it could be way, way worse. And like, I definitely for that reason, like, because I had that, I do feel like 2020 was not the worst year I've ever had.
No, 2020 was in my top 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah, you had a movie that which congratulations again.
Came out. It's gonna be out on HBO and on Valentine's Day, and I got signed with Innovative, which is a very big agency.
Wow.
I booked a TV show which we haven't shot yet because we're supposed to shoot in January, but they shut it down for COVID. I did a lot of stand-up. I have no complaints. I got to spend a lot of time with my fiance. I got a dog.
Did you get engaged during the pandemic?
I did. I got engaged during the pandemic. I was supposed to get engaged anyway. I always planned it.
That was planned.
On July 4th, because that's our anniversary.
Yeah.
When the pandemic happened, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happier I did. So I didn't really have a bad year. Just, I lost the 2 jobs I had, but then that allowed me to get unemployment.
Yeah.
I've never done before, and holy shit, it was sweet. I know that was the golden era of unemployment, but
oh yeah, it's like some people were making more money from unemployment than actually working.
I for sure was. At least it felt like I was, just because I had way less expenses.
Yeah.
That's also a big thing. I wasn't really spending. I was like, I just never had that much money in my bank account.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no complaints about whatever last year. Who knows? Bad things could still be right around the corner.
Oh yeah, life is very, very unpredictable, and not even from the pandemic or a pending civil war. Tomorrow is never promised.
I think that's part of the Buddhism. There's some like tenet of Buddhism is kind of like always assume everything is like lost or something. It's kind of like if you have a glass, assume that glass is broken. So eventually when it breaks, you just kind of look at it like, oh yeah, of course. Like, so like you're grateful when you see it and it's not broken. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Just assume at one point this will not be a thing. Because it's not, nothing lasts.
Like I
no attachments. That's part of their no attachments thing. You know?
In this age, every time I see a missed call from my mom, I assume the worst just because of.
I know, but I have that too. I have a lot of death thoughts about my parents. I'm always like, I miss a call from my mom at 8 a.m. Like, oh my God, why would she call me at 8 a.m? But yeah, that's just getting older. But I even try not to have those as much, because I always kind of feel like the more you think about something, you're just like, it's like you're inviting it in or something, you know. So many times I think about the worst thing and it happens. But yeah. But I've also been having those thoughts since I was like 9 years old. I've been worrying about my parents dying like my whole life. And they're just never dying. But I'm always worrying. I'm worrying about it all the time. So
yeah. That's another thing that I feel lucky about, is that both my parents tested positive for the antibodies, and without ever
they had it.
Yeah, they had it, but they never had a symptom.
Oh wow, good for them. My parents haven't gotten it, but they're in Canada where they're on like such a strict.
Yeah, much better about it here.
Yeah. So like they're not getting it. I hope not. My dad is in his.
I've also. 60s, I feel another thing I feel lucky about. I don't know if you saw any of the clips of the Crescendo with Ira Rousso that I posted today. Kurt Steinmuller I talked to, and one of my best friends in comedy, and I've been in cars with him so many times through all this, just driving around Southern California looking for whatever outdoor stage time we can, save money on gas, and I always assumed that he would be the guy that I would get it from, and he ended up getting it. I did not.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. I know I have two cousins that are doctors. One is in New York and one is in North Dakota.
Okay.
They're dealing with a lot of COVID people.
I can't begin to imagine.
They're basically making out with COVID patients all the time, and one got it, one didn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it works, but I don't want it. I haven't gotten it because I've been tested a bunch of times and I never got it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do know that if you donate blood, that's the trick to getting a free antibody test.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Just contact your Red Cross.
Well, I know I didn't have it because I was getting tested at least every several weeks.
Yeah.
So at one point, I would have had it. I would have seen I had it or something.
Yeah, I got my 11th test today.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Are you excited for the vaccine?
Yep. I do plan on getting it. I was initially a little bit skeptical, but
I just don't want to get it because I don't like getting anything. Like, I don't even take Advil.
Yeah, vaccines scare the shit out of me to begin with, but
yeah, just anything really. Like I'll do it because I have no choice, right?
Yeah. Like, I used to be skeptical about the vaccine until, Kat Alvarado, she posted something very interesting along the lines of, if you're skeptical and nervous about how quick they were able to come up with this vaccine.
It's just like the vaccine is just a variant of another vaccine or something like that. It wasn't like it's had to make one from scratch.
Her point was that that the amount of processing power that has been developed over even the past 20 years, the amount of mathematical equations the amount of calculations they're able to do, they're simply able to crunch the numbers at lightning speeds far faster than they ever could back in like the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
So I trust the vaccine.
Yeah, sure, might as well. I mean, I don't
YOLO.
I guess we'll find out in a few decades, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it. I want to see my parents. I want to fly somewhere. So.
Yeah, I'd like for comedy clubs to open again. I would like to go back to New York. This is the longest.
You could go to Arizona and do stand up at a club right now.
I do not have a tape for that yet.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You don't have one, really? I feel like you would have like what 5-6 minutes.
I probably have a shitty Yoo-Hoo Room tape from Flappers, okay. So it's like it's not the best.
I have one tape. I have a bunch of tapes, but one of the tapes where I'm doing the best is in the Yoo-Hoo Room at Flappers, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I could use this because there's just so many of these types of tapes floating around because they give one to everyone.
Yeah, it's just
they're just used to seeing kind of bad comics in that room.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, which if I was a booker from another city, like particularly in the Southwest, like if it's another part of the country, like they probably get less of these tapes. But once you see that Yoo-Hoo Room logo, I would imagine the first thing is like it's not putting your best foot forward.
The way you can edit it and like, I guess you insert a green screen, then you take yourself out, put you on like just a plain black background. It doesn't even have to be another club or anything like that. But
oh yeah, what that's. I could take my Yoo-Hoo Room tape, which isn't a good set to begin with, but like put a mask in Premiere.
You can add in the laughs too.
Yeah.
So
sparkle it up.
And you can make the tape amazing. Change the background, add in a ton of laughs.
Yeah.
And that's your tape. What's the difference? They're not going to know.
They'll know because it's not good material. As it wouldn't make sense. Like sitcom laughter from like the 1950s.
No, you would take like either you would record yourself laughing. And like different way, or maybe you would take. I guess if you could find a part of the tape that the laugh is like isolated.
Yes, if you could isolate. The trick that I heard is that if you isolate the laughs and overlayer them in parts where there's like organic laughter, like it's sincere, like it doesn't sound fake, and it just.
I think honestly that is what they do with like Netflix and when laughs on Fox.
Oh, 100%. I
was like, these people are not laughing that hard.
I even heard Mitch Hedberg's Comedy Central half hour because they recorded those in groups of 4, like 4 comics, and he was like the lowest energy comic.
Yeah.
And all those people who were there, they were waiting there for. They probably 8 hours. Like they had to reset everything with each comic.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's like the sparkle. Like they did what they had to do, and it's not against Mitch Hedberg, but for in the name of producing quality content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is awesome, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Oh yeah, well, thank you for having me. It was really fun, and I probably will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tonight. Who knows?
Or tonight, yeah. I know Nick is having his mic. I might go, but
yeah, that's why I said probably tonight.
Yeah. So we shall see. But yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Dude, no doubt. Is there anything you want to plug? Or you don't have a podcast or anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, these things are fun, man. I'm in love with podcasting now.
Yeah. Everybody. I don't need to have one because I'm doing everybody else's that I know. So I'm like, it's like I kind of feel like I have one anyway.
Yeah, I felt like I liked you and Ben. I had Ben Hurwitz the other day, and you and him, like I feel like the chemistry, like a lot of gold in here.
Good, man. Well, I'm happy to.
No, but yeah. Anything you want to plug? Instagram, Twitter.
Instagram is RISHI_EH, like A.
Yeah.
And I have that movie coming out on HBO Max. In other words, I'm a lead in it.
Yeah. What is it called?
It's called In Other Words. And Valentine's Day. And do I have anything else to promote? Not at all, man.
No. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, keeping busy otherwise. Thank you so much, man. This is awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Peace.